Good evening. Let me just bring your attention to a young Irish woman called Clare Daley. I've left a link to her rants in the European Parliament. She is a hero of mine because she speaks the truth of common sense. And the EU collective is trying to get her and her partner banned because they deem them as the loony left. Please take a listen to her views. I've left a link in the descriptions to this video with the chevron on the right hand side. And to be quite honest, they certainly don't seem loony to me. But I guess anyone in today's world who has common sense is labelled as loony left or loony right. So let me begin. Before I go any further, it's interesting to note that my last video had about 60 views, and in the beginning of that, the first day, there were 6 thumbs ups, and that's been reduced to 1, and I don't really understand why that would happen, but there you go. Stranger things have happened on this platform. So I'll carry on. So let me just ask a question, and one that's on everybody's lips in this country. Where is Britain on the global political stage? And I can answer that. It appears that we are taking the final curtain call, because I believe we are about to see a total regime change in this country. Our Prime Minister, Liz Truss, who was placed there by whoever, I've got no idea. And she is obviously a puppet on a string that doesn't have a real voice at all. And everything she touches turns sour because she takes advice from the real voices in this debacle, and they use her as a stool pigeon for their political masters. And the real reason that the Chancellor got the sack was his kamikaze budget that caused panic on the futures market. And that is your pension. They're putting your pension in jeopardy. And they still are doing that. And this is all about money and the internet, not the internet, but the futures market, the stock exchange. It's all about confidence. And now there is none whatsoever. Confidence has been lost. And if you've got a mortgage, the interests are going to go up, for sure. And there's been a big elephant in the room in the last 2 years. And what's caused this? No, not Russia, not Mr. Putin. It's what we did to ourselves with the furlough scheme. It's basically bankrupted Britain. And now we all have to pay the price. And the other big elephant in the room is most definitely the conflict you know where. And voices are being silenced because we don't want to upset our special friends across the pond. Now here's a rhetorical question I have. What could the EU or the UK do to fix things right now in this world? I'll tell you what, we need to distance ourselves from America, end support in Ukraine, end sanctions in Russia, end provocations toward China and repair relations with them, sit around a table and negotiate the conflict immediately. And by the way, China and India are pushing for these talks, while the whole world holds its breath. And of course, none of these measures will be implemented because of the enormous influence of the American hegemony. And it essentially means that there is no way out for Europe. But who cares? Europe is only a small proportion of the global population. Global population is around 8 billion. Europe population is around 700 million. It's barely 10% of the world population. Britain, on the other hand, is an even smaller minority, and it seems that the once Great Britain is about to undergo a regime change, and it will be Starmer as Prime Minister in the near future. God help us. But it won't make one iota of difference because they are all under the same spell of Team America. And the only thing to counter this is if the EU falls along with NATO. Then, and only then, will we see a real change in this world. Will it happen? I've got no idea at all. But I do know that something big is bubbling on the back burner, for sure. And we keep hearing about, everybody's probably heard of Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum telling us that in the future we'll own nothing and be happy. And of course the great majority of the population and the mainstream media say that this is psychobabble and a conspiracy theory by the tinfoil hat brigade. Well, what if it isn't? The way things are progressing with the economic failure of Western nations and the rising cost of fuel, and it has a domino effect on absolutely everything. If this continues into winter, then many will go hungry, cold and desolate. When people find themselves in this situation, they will agree to anything because they become desperate, and desperation is the raw material of drastic change. Only those who can leave behind everything they've ever worked for and believe in can only hope to escape to the new world. Many, many, many won't make it, I'm sure. But good luck to everyone that does. To coin a little phrase, the winter of our discontent. No, I don't mean Shakespeare's Richard III. I mean John Steinbeck's novel that was called The Winter of Our Discontent. It's a story of degeneration and moral collapse in the 1950s and 60s America, which in today's world has degenerated even further into a debauched society and is dragging the whole of the Western world with it. And John Steinbeck would surely turn in his grave. And John Steinbeck, by the way, is my favourite author of all time. Great writer. So, it's really time to wake up, folks. But I guess this will fall on deaf ears unless maybe we pass this message on to others. Just remember to hold on to your hats. It's going to be a rough ride for sure. And unless we get the second coming of Christ, which is extremely unlikely. And I would just, again, like to remind you that this is just my opinion. And many other things could happen. But like I've said before, don't hold your breath. Bless you for listening right to the very end, and may your God go with you. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.